This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, so Brian Flores addressed the Meteors today. Let's hear from the head coach, and we break it down. You know, we love to do it here. We play the coach's interview with the media, and then we tell you what we think he's going to say. And maybe he's going to say, I want to sign a receiver that likes to be crapped on. No, he's not going to say it. All right, go ahead. What can Brown do for you? No, I don't hear anything. Is it going? I don't hear anything. You guys hear anything? I don't hear anything. You're hearing it? I don't hear anything. You're hearing it? I don't hear it. All right, let's see if we got it now. All right. Let's try this one more time. Fire it off.
Good morning, Coach. We got a look at the depth chart last night, and one place of interest for us was the right guard, right tackle decision. What went into putting Solomon with the ones?
Look, like I said yesterday, I mean, I wouldn't put too much into the depth charts. Look, I mean, we got a really tough opponent. It's going to be a competitive environment. Everyone's got to be ready to play. That's been my message to the team. That was my message this morning. That'll continue to be my message. So, again, like I said yesterday, I wouldn't put too much into the depth chart. You know, everybody's got to be ready to go.
Cam Wolf.
Good morning, Flo. I know you always preach competition, you know, so none of these things are final. But obviously, you named Fitz as a starter. Last year, we saw Rosen, I guess, after a couple of games. Do you anticipate Fitz, you know, secure in that spot, or could there potentially be a quicker hook like it was last year?
You're breaking up a little bit, but I think the gist of it was, could a situation come up that Tua could play, essentially?
My question is Fitz more secure in his starting this year than he was last year when he had a quicker hook? Could we see similar, or is he more secure, essentially?
Fitz has done a good job in training camp. Obviously, you know, he's a veteran. He's got leadership. He's experienced. We feel good about where he is, and really the offense, the defense, the special teams. So we'll see how things go, and we feel good about where he is right now.
Omar?
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the nickel position. That seems to be one of the hardest positions to play, and you're facing one of the teams that utilizes the position quite well. Do you want to go with experience there, or is that something where you want to play the best player?
Well, it's always a combination of both. You know, talent, experience, ability to communicate. I mean, I think all those things play a factor in who's in those at the nickel position or the, you know, any of those sub kind of packages. So, you know, we've had a lot of conversations about who's going to be the nickel, who's going to play the dime, who's going to play, you know, defensive line in those situations. So, but like you said, you know, Julian Edelman's a great player. He's in the slot, you know, primarily, but he also plays outside. I mean, I've seen him in the backfield also. So they move him around quite a bit. We've got to be prepared for really all of it. That's what this week of preparation is all about. So, you know, hopefully we go out there and have a good week of practice. And look, they're going to show us things that we, you know, haven't seen. There's been no preseason games. If we can communicate, we can, you know, play with good fundamentals and technique. You know, I think we'll be okay.
Adam Beasley.
You just mentioned how there's going to be some uncertainty going into week one. Is there uncertainty about your own team? What is your level of confidence that you know what you have, and when you dial it up on Sunday, you're going to get?
I mean, we've had, you know, a month of practice, you know, 14 padded practices, and a little bit more, you know, whether it's the OTA practices or the walkthrough. So, yeah, there's uncertainty really across the board with our opponent. And again, you never really know. We talked about it. You know, there's a lot of young players playing, a lot of new faces on this team. So, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknown. You really don't know until you step out on the field. But we're going to practice and prepare and try to put our best foot forward and try to come out of there with a win. But it won't be easy. We understand that. So, I mean, you can, you know, say uncertainty, say, you know, this or that. But, you know, when you go up and play against a good football team, you know, which one is it? Is it uncertainty, or is it, you know, good competition? They make plays, we make plays. Which one is it? So, I mean, it's a kind of a tough question to answer.
Alan?
Good morning, Brian. I'm wondering whether there's any significance in the fact that there are 8 captains this year as opposed to 4 last year.
I would say there's quite a bit of, good leadership in the team. There could have been, there was 4 or 5 other guys who got votes as well. So, that's a good thing. Quite a few guys who receive votes. There's a good amount of leadership here. We need that, You need 53 leaders on your team. That's what we're looking for, and that's always something I try to talk about. I mean, you need as much leadership on a football team as you can get. And, just because you're a captain doesn't mean, or you're not a captain, I should say, doesn't mean that you don't have a leadership role on the team. And I've talked to the players about that. If something's wrong or we got to make a call on the field, and it doesn't have to just be the captain who makes that call. We're voted by their teammates. So you need 53 leaders on the team. I'm happy to have, the 8 guys we have. There were some, I would say there are 4 or 5 other guys, honestly, who also got votes. So there were some other guys. There's some other guys who didn't get votes who I see leadership in as well. So I'm happy with the 8 guys that were chosen, and we'll move forward with those guys.
Cam?
Hey, Flo, hope you can hear me a little better now. Wanted to ask, I know you don't take a lot of stock into last year, but the last game we saw your team play was up in Foxborough against this team. Are you able to take any, I guess, confidence or I guess guidance in general from how you perform?
No. I mean, last year was last year, and this year is a totally different year. They've got different players. We have different players. We made changes to the coaching staff. They made a few changes to their coaching staff. So every year is different. And our goal is just to prepare for this week. We're not, really thinking about, what happened last year. In that last game was a totally different situation, 2 different teams. There were fans in the stadium. I mean, it's just, there's so many differences from, this year to last year on so many levels that we weren't taking COVID tests every day last year either. So there's differences. Schedules are different. The way we travel is going to be different. So, no.
Go to Hal.
Hello, you got me now? Can you hear me okay?
Got you now, Hal.
Okay. You had mentioned a minute ago about the fact that there would be no fans, and I'm wondering, as a visiting team, how does that affect your preparation, if at all? Because obviously, when you go into a really noisy situation, hand signals are involved and so forth. Does this affect your preparation very much this week?
Well, there will be some noise. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, we know what the decibel level is supposed to be, but does it affect our preparation? I mean, we'll go about it as if, there's a situation where we may need to go to silent count or hand signals. If we need it, we'll go to it. If we don't need it, we won't. But yeah, the preparation, it's a little different in that in some cases, where there's going to be crowd noise, it's going to be loud. In this situation, I think we're going into it with the assumption that it will be, whatever decibel levels this can get up to, it will be loud enough that we have to make hand signals or silent count or things of that nature. So that's how we'll prepare for it. It will be different. It will be unique. I mean, I don't think any of us have been in a situation like this in an NFL game. So there's a little bit of a learning curve here as well.
All right, we have time for one more. We'll go to Omar.
I want to ask you about your slot receiver role. I know I'm in your nickel packages right now. Isaiah Ford's obviously a guy who played a lot last season. How much do you feel like he's ready to become an NFL starter, or do you feel like this is a situation where you've got enough receivers that you can move them around and Jakeem can be in that unit?
I think we got a lot of good players in the receiver room, in the tight end room, in the running back room. Who aligns in the slot is really dependent on what formation we give them. So you can see a running back in the slot, you can see a tight end in the slot, you can see a receiver in the slot. Depends on what formation we're giving them. What matchup we're looking for. So specifics to one player. If it's Isaiah or Jakeem or Breida. I mean, Devontae. They've all been in the slot. So specific to that area of the field. Could be a number of people. I think your question's about, maybe a couple players, Isaiah, Jakeem. I think, Isaiah's had a good camp. He's been dependable and productive in practice. He's made a few plays in games, particularly at the end of last year. Jakeem obviously is explosive, as explosive a player as there is in the league. I think we have a few options, and once we get to Sunday, we'll see who's out there and who can help us try to win the football game.
That is the head coach, Brian Flores. And look, I told you a little earlier, but I want to tie it to this segment. When he said don't look too much into the depth chart, I want to explain to you, they've only had 14 practices, like he said. It's impossible. Listen to me. It's impossible for any of the 32 coaches, maybe Kansas City or something, if it's a really established team, then you kind of know what you got. But Brian Flores does not know what he has yet. He has not put them through enough practices, enough padded practices. He didn't have 4 preseason games. He didn't have to practice against a team for 3 days. He just doesn't have any of that. So that's why the depth charts are really, it's not surprising for Christian Wilkins or Devontae Parker. You know what I mean? Certain guys, they're going to start. But when it comes to the offensive line, when it comes to the linebackers, when it comes to the secondary, there could be changes in different areas because you have young players that you've acquired or drafted or signed that are competing in those areas. You know what I mean? So again, and the example is also, like I told you about Durham Smythe. And I said it in that prior segment, but I'll tie it to this one also. Durham Smythe is listed as a starter because you have a really young offensive line. And you have a rookie left tackle that has barely played all offseason. So that rookie left tackle is probably going to need a little help. And I would not be surprised if Durham Smythe lines up a lot next to that left tackle. I would not be surprised if they're using a blocking tight end a lot because they may want an extra blocker. They may want to go a little more max protection. So those are the things why when he said don't look into the depth chart that much, it's not that he's trying to throw you off the trail or anything like that. I think he's just being kind of honest that, this is kind of a depth chart made in pencil. And we can turn it around and erase it and put somebody else in there. And that's kind of what's going on. So, again, don't be surprised. And a lot of these teams are going to end up making a bunch of changes. Teams that are in transition, they are going to make a lot of changes because there's no way, if they've got several new players, that they actually know what they have in those new players. Okay? So, just a little thing coming off of that.